Hello and welcome to the lesson number 1 on the class Sacred Honor, a Christian Man's Strategy for Sexual Integrity. Sexual integrity is a big deal. It's a big deal for men, for young men. It's something that we have to battle and fight with our whole life. I thought when I was younger, boy, it'd be nice when I get older and I don't have to be worried about the temptations anymore. Guess what? I'm not old, but you still have to worry about them. I have talked to men that are old and they still have to worry about them. There's a reason why they're called dirty old men, because men that are old still have to battle and fight the temptations to be able to stay sexually pure and to keep our sexual integrity. So that's the big title of the course. When I was working on it, I just called it To Keep Thee from the Strange Woman, which is something that Solomon says to his son, to keep him from the woman that's going to wreck his life and mess him up. And it happens. We'll talk about that. To keep thee from the strange woman comes from Proverbs chapter 7, verse number 4 and 5. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinswoman, that they may keep thee from the strange woman, from the stranger which flattereth with her words. We'll talk a lot about that and go through that whole thing. But that was my working title, To Keep Thee from the Strange Woman. I didn't want to call it that because there's not all women that are trying to mess someone up and hurt them. Didn't want women to get the idea of that. But for men, yes, we do need to watch out for that. There are 3 purposes to this course. One is for people who struggle with sexual integrity in mind and or body. So if you're that way and you struggle with this, then this is for you. When I put this lesson out and said, hey, I'm going to be teaching a course on this, I got a lot of response and people privately that said, let me know when this course comes out. I need this. And so this is for you. It's also for people to use to help others that struggle with it. Maybe you've been given victory. Maybe you have victory on that. This course is going to give you a whole lot of things to learn to help other people with that. Because if you're in ministry or you care about people, this is gigantic, and there'll be many opportunities to help people that struggle with this. And number 3, this is for the young man, to help him to be pure and to keep and to stay pure. Wouldn't it be a great thing if we got victory from this when we were young? We got some big plans in this course to help you with that and to help you with your sons for that. Now, if you're taking this as a college course, there won't just be 13 lessons, and some will be shorter than a full college course, full college class, in order to deal with all the lessons and topics as a topic. But I promise you, there'll be you'll get plenty of information, and that will be a help to you. So I want to give my testimony to start off with. I grew up in a good home, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night church, pure, no molestation, no sexual, mess with as a kid and things like that. But the natural way of a man, and the boys told me what was what, and then they started having pictures of things, and then being opened up to the world of women. Wow, what an exciting thing. I was a swimmer on a swim team, and naturally the swimmers, many of them became lifeguards. So I became a lifeguard. Sounds like a good thing. You're protecting people from drowning. The problem is, as a male lifeguard with a lot of women in bikinis, guess what you ended up looking at? You got paid to Google, to ogle. You got paid to look at women in swimsuits and to check them out. You had to look at them. You want to make sure they didn't drown. And as a young man, that is not a good thing. By the way, it's not good for any man, but especially as a young man. That opened up the mind to women are sexual creatures, and that's really all they are. And that's how you looked at every person, and you looked at body parts, and you thought and compared and meditated and looked to see what you could see, and all the things that come with that was not good. Not good for any young man. It wasn't good for me. Then we ended up, when we moved, going to a church that wasn't good. Couldn't find a good church in the area. The youth directors bought alcohol, brought it to the church, gave it to the teenagers at our youth activity, and the night got worse from there. And the night got worse from there was every person could invite one friend. So the girls invited our girlfriend, and the boys invited their boyfriend, and we play hide and go seek, and nobody looked for each other. That was church. Okay. Not good for mental, not good for sexual purity, with what that caused. Then later on, I moved out of my house. Told my parents wouldn't live by the rules. Got into alcohol and drugs and military, more pornography, dirty, perverted mind, and all the things that come up with that. But praise God, 35 years ago, God got a hold of my heart in a good independent fundamental Baptist church and turned my life around. And I surrendered to God. Now I've got to work on this. Now I've got to work on this. How do I do that? How do I change my mind? How do I change my thoughts? How do I change my heart? How do I change my actions? And so when I went to Bible college, I said, I'm not going to date anyone. I'm not going to look at anyone. I'm going to walk down the hallways. We grew up on a farm, and some people still plowed with mules, and they have these binders over their eyes so they can't look left or right. That way they're just going to walk forward down the road that you want them. I didn't walk down the hall like this, but I almost did. I mean, my eyes were just straight ahead and right on, and I didn't look at girls, didn't talk to girls. I mean, didn't avoided every girl that I could, because I knew I wasn't ready to date. I had to get this cleaned up and this cleaned up. And honestly, I wondered if I could. A few months later, with the kind of things we're going to teach you in this course, I realized, wow, I have a clean mind. I don't look at women like I used to look at them. I don't think the thoughts that I used to think. I don't do the things that I used to do. It's amazing what God did in cleaning up my mind. I'm telling you, God can clean up your mind. God can help you to have a clean mind where it's not filled with smut. It's not filled with sex. It's not filled with perversion. It's not filled with images. Even if you've seen a lot, been a lot, and done a lot, God can clean up your mind. Okay? That's the hope for this course. Can it happen? Absolutely. You apply these principles, these biblical principles we're going to give you in this course. It will clean up your mind, and you will have an amazingly better life to be able to have this. Most of the guys that get into this, we understand the guilt and the shame that comes with it. We don't want it. We don't want to do it. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to do things that we know aren't right to do as a Christian man. And so to get victory on this, wow, what a great thing. And it can be. So I've been married now for almost 34 years. We have 11 children. Victory over pornography. No woman in the world can say I've ever flirted with them from 35 years ago on. There's not a woman in the world that can rightly say I've ever flirted with them. Even a text or message or a private message or anything. Okay. All right. There were some 90-year-old women in the nursing home that I was friendly with. Okay. I jokingly said I've flirted with them, but of course it wasn't sexual, but just having fun with the 90-year-old ladies. For instance, one of the ladies said I would pick on them and tease them all the time. And so one lady said, Chaplain, would you say something nice to me today? All right, let me see. And so here was my flirting with her. Okay. Just so you don't get any wrong ideas. What are you doing in the nursing home? Okay. Here's the extent of my flirting. All right. Let me think of something nice to say. Okay. I got it. You don't look near as bad today as you did yesterday. That was my flirting with them. And they laughed. I thought it was funny to pick on them. There's not a woman in this world that can say that I have flirted with them. They can't, because God can give you victory over this and over this. By the way, I'm a little nervous to teach this course. I believe in teaching this course. Satan's probably going to tempt me more. He would love for this course not to have the effect and for me to mess up. And I've got to make sure my boundaries are up so I don't mess up. So this course can be a great testimony and a help to you. So we want to help you with to get help. One of the big ways to get help is to have a big why. Why do you want this? Why do you want this? We'll talk more about that at the end with homework, okay? You don't have to do this homework, even if you're taking it for a course. This homework is for you, but we're going to give you that. Satan would love to destroy your home, your life, your marriage, your family, and mess your testimony up. The Bible says Satan hath desired to have you that he may sift you as wheat, and this is one of the big ways that he does that. Satan tempts us, and then after he tempts us, then he uses our fall against us, which is horrible. That's so wrong. James 1:14 says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. Satan will tempt us, and then when we fall, then he clobbers us with what he tempted us with. Not even fair. I've got an illustration for this. It's a bad one on me, but it's helpful. I was the older brother. I had a brother 2 years younger than me. So I would tempt him. Okay. I would tempt him, and then I would get him, and then it would be worse for him. So let's say I'm 5 and he's 3, or I'm 8 and he's 6, whatever age is like that. And I would go to my little brother and I said, now, Dan, don't hit me. I'm tempting him. And I'm pointing at my shoulder, okay? a boy 2 years younger than you, when I'm 8 and he's 6 and he hits me in the arm, no big deal. Okay. It's not going to hurt. He's younger. He's not that strong. And it's my arm. Okay. So, but I would tempt him. Now, Dan, don't hit me. I told him, don't hit me. Okay. Well, what are they going to do? I tempted him and he fell for the temptation. So he hits me. So now I clobber him. And an 8-year-old hitting a 6-year-old, especially in the face, clobbering, beating him up. Yeah, that hurts. Yeah. So he goes running to mom, crying. David hit me. David hit me. David hit me. So mom's coming at me. Mom, he hit me first. Did you hit him first? Yes. Then he gets a spanking. Isn't that horrible? Now, if you're a big brother, you go, man, why didn't I think of that? That was classic big brother stuff. But if you're a normal person, you go, that was bad. And I agree, that was bad. What did I do? I tempted him and used his pride against him, got him in trouble, and got to hit him and got him a spanking. Wow, are you kidding? What a win-win-win for me. It was horrible. It was bad. Guess what Satan does? Hello. He tempts us. Tempts us with sin. Tempts us with that strange woman. Tempts us. And then when we go for it and fall, now what he does? Now he beats us up with it. Now he tries to destroy us with it. Ooh, he's wrong. He's bad. Oh, yeah, he's it. By the way, he's good at what he does. Hey, if you worked a job for 10 years, you're pretty good at it. How about 20? How about 40? Hey, you worked 40 years of this one job and retired. Would you be good at it? Man, you're the best. You know everything. 40 years at this job. How about if you've been doing the same job for 2,000 years? How good would you be? That's Satan. Not 2,000 years, 6,000 years. 6,000 years doing the same job, deceiving people. Satan, for 6,000 years, has been deceiving people. He is good at what he does. He knows how to get you. He takes notes and watches. There's some blinds. Okay, write that down. Let me tempt him and see. Satan watches so he can get you. Watches when you're weak so you can fall. So let me ask you this. Did God know that we would struggle with sexual sins? Did God know that? By the way, God knew we would struggle. Nothing surprises God. Listen to the list in the Bible of sexual sins that God talked about, warned about, preached against, had rules against, had laws against, had commandments against. Did God know that we would struggle with this? Of course he did. Nothing surprises God. It's amazing to me to look at this. Fornication, God warned against. Adultery, God warned against. Polygamy, God warned against. Rape was in the Bible. A sexual sin. Incest, Leviticus 18, 20, 27, incest. God knew that people would struggle with sexual sins. Homosexuality, sodomy, we called it. Bestiality, Exodus 22, 19, Leviticus 20, 14 and 15, Deuteronomy 27, 21. Prostitution, Leviticus 19, 29, 21, 9, 1 Corinthians 6, 16. God knew we would struggle with sexual sins and put them in there. Sexual immorality, okay, porneia, sexual sins, including pornography, looking, mind, thoughts, what we do. Ezekiel 8:12, it says, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery. For they say, the Lord seeth us not. The Lord hath forsaken the earth. Ooh. Have you seen what they do in the dark? In the chambers of their imagery? They are thinking about wicked things and doing wrong things in the dark. They say, oh, God can't see us. No, God can see you. Pagan sexual activity, Exodus 32, Isaiah 57, Hosea 4. Pagan sexual activity. Many religions of this world have sex as a part of their tradition, a part of their, quote, worship, a part of their rituals that they do. Many of them, Hinduism, Buddhism have that. Ancient Egyptian religion has that. Neo-pagan religions, by the way, Islam, when they, quote, die as a martyr and go to heaven, they get 72 virgins, okay? There are so many sexual sins as a part of religions, and God had warned against that. And then uncleanness, lasciviousness, self-pleasure. It's at least 11 different sexual sins that God warned the people about. And why did he warn them? Because he knew they would have that. He knew they would have that. We talked about the chambers of your imagery, what you look at, what you put in your mind. Talk a little bit about pornography. By the way, this class is not all about pornography, but we will deal with that. The porn industry generates more income than the combined revenues of ABC, NBC, CBS, and more than the combined revenues of the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball. Can you believe that? more than the combined revenues of those. In the U.S., porn industry generates up to $97 billion every year. $97 billion. Every second, $3,000 is spent on pornography. And that's not counting all the free pornography that people are watching and looking at. They say 28,243 users watching pornography every second. 1 in 5 mobile searches are about pornography. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. Mobile searches are for pornography. 1 in 5 youth pastors and 1 in 7 pastors use porn on a regular basis and are currently struggling. 1 in 5 youth pastors, 1 in 7 senior pastors. We've got a problem. 43% of senior pastors and youth pastors say they've struggled with pornography in the past. Divorce, 56% have at least one party involved, actively obsessive interest in pornography. 64% of Christian men say they watch porn at least once a month. Okay, it's a big deal. And most have no way to be able to help with that. We want to put this course together so you have help for this issue. So here's a question. Why does God give the desire and ability before we're supposed to do anything? When you first get the desire to do something with a woman and the intrigue to look at, wow, when do we get that? Some boys go through those phases where girls have cooties. I never went through that. I had my first girlfriend at 4 years old. She was my girlfriend until I was 12 and we moved away. I never went through that girls have cooties phase. When do we have the temptation? But yet, when are we supposed to do something? That temptation, even if you just call puberty, when we are active and able to perform sexually, and it's years before we're supposed to. When we're married. Why does God give the desire and ability before we're supposed to do anything? Wouldn't it be better if on our wedding night we go, oh, wow, okay, I've heard about this, but never had one. Now I know I've got one and what to do with it. Wouldn't that be great if we didn't have that temptation? Listen, God allows us to have the temptation before we're supposed to act on that in order, listen, to teach us self-discipline. Self-discipline is one of the most powerful things you can have and do, to be able to discipline yourself. Hey, men, let me ask you. You want one day your wife, your children to follow you. You want your workers at your work or your business where you own, you want them to follow you. Listen, if you can't follow you, how can anyone else follow you? Can you make yourself do what you're supposed to do? Can you? That's called self-discipline. I discipline myself. Listen, if you won't follow you, then why should anyone else follow you? If you can't follow you, why should your wife follow you? You're upset your wife's not following you. Are you following you? Are you doing in your mind and your body what you know is right? Are you keeping sexual integrity and purity? You want your kids to follow you. Are you following yourself? Are you making yourself obey what you know you're supposed to do? Okay? That's what we want to help you with. Having the desire, having the ability, but not engaging in things that we shouldn't. Whether that's a teenage boy who's struggling with right thoughts and actions, or whether that's a married man who's struggling with thoughts and actions from others. So when we give in to sexual temptations that can and will destroy our life, like the verses we read, lust hath conceived, bringeth forth sin. Sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. The death of a marriage, the death of the children and relationships and purity. So here's the homework, okay? So make a list of, if you are not sexually pure, what you're going to lose. It's called a big why. If you're not sexually pure, what are you going to lose? Your marriage? Your children? What are you going to lose? Self-respect? What are you going to get? You're going to get shame, humiliation, financial loss. Let's not deal with people all the time. Oh, that won't happen to me. Yeah. And guess who says that? Everyone it happened to. What are you going to get from this? Your name in the newspaper? Your picture there? What are you going to get? Jail? Prison? Oh, that would never happen. Yeah, that's what they all say. But it happens. You need to make a list, big whys, that if I don't get victory over my thoughts and my actions, what's going to happen? What am I going to lose? What's going to happen to me in my life? Okay? Those are big things that will help you to motivate you to motivate you. Let me give you a few of the things. I hesitate to do this and almost didn't want to because I don't want you to look at this list and go, oh, I don't think I need that, because you need this. Okay, let me give you just some of the things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the mind. Okay, everything starts in the mind. So much. The next lesson will be on the mind. You've got to get that. This next lesson on your mind, to dealing with your eyes, your mind, the chambers, your imagery, how to control this, how to plan this, how to fight spiritually with this. 2 ways to be able to fight spiritually. Our spiritual weapons that are not just defensive, but are offensive weapons to be able to go through this. We're going to talk about when you fall, because every person is going to, even if it's a look or a thought. When we fall, what do we do from there? How do you get back up? How do you confess? How do you get cleansed? How are you able to put that behind you and go forward when we fall? Because everyone does. We're going to talk about pornography. We're going to go more into that and how to get victory on that in your life. We're going to talk about how to cleanse the inside, and what that means. We're talking about illustrations in the Bible, great men that fell, why they fell, what happened, learn from their stories so it doesn't happen to us. We're going to talk about how does it start. I'm not going to use names of individual people, but I'm going to tell you stories of people that I know. What did it start with? That person ended up in prison. How did he end up in prison? I just can't fathom that guy would end up in prison, but yet he did. Why did that happen? Why that happened? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about our flesh. We're going to talk about how weak it is. We're going to talk about how to make it strong and how to be able to fight. We're going to talk about pride, of how our pride messes us up because we look down at other people. Very, very powerful. When you see someone that's putting someone else down that fell, be careful. Very easily, that could be you. We're going to do some word studies on pure and purity and the heart to make sure those things are right. We're going to show you the 4 things that Solomon taught his son that would keep him from the strange woman. Okay, here's all wisdom. Solomon, who taught him, son, these things will keep you from the strange woman that's going to mess up your life. We're talking about having a good marriage. The Bible says to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife. Oh, wow. God gave us a desire, and then God gave us a wife. Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor of the Lord. Okay? So we're going to talk about that, how to have a good marriage, how to help your wife with the things in which you struggle. Really, really big. How to avoid temptation and avoid fornication with that. We're going to talk about masturbation, self-pleasure, lasciviousness, uncleanness. We're going to talk about that. It's going to be not ever vulgar, but we're going to be detailed. It is an issue. It is something that probably every man has had to struggle and to deal with. And so to know how to, we're going to talk about that. We're talking about other things that affect our mind, our thoughts, and our body. We're talking about how to set up boundaries. How to set up boundaries so even if you fell, you haven't fallen. How to set up those boundaries in your life and where to make those. When you get too close to sin, it's amazing how that will strike and then get you. We're talking about accountability. We're going to talk about things you can do to help you where you will not fall into those things that'll mess you up. I'm really excited about this. I'm going to bring one of my sons on. We're going to talk about a plan for father and sons. We're calling it the Father and Son War Room. Really, really neat stuff to help as a father. When puberty and changes started happening, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what it was. And I knew if I talked to my dad, he'd kill me. So I didn't talk to him. So I learned from the guys at school. Not a good way. I'm sure my dad's dad did better than he did on explaining that. I did better than my dad did on explaining that. And I want my boys to do better than I did on explaining that. And I believe they will. And we've got a plan. And we're going to share that with you. It's going to be really neat. And then we're going to talk about things that will motivate you to keep a pure mind. You always got to have something to motivate you. The pleasure of a pure mind has to be bigger than the pleasure of the carnal mind. Okay? We're talking about how to do that. So that and a lot more in there. Those are points of subpoints of subpoints. But there's so many things we want to give you to help you to have victory. Okay, to help you have victory over this mind, to help you to have victory and to have a clean mind, a pure mind. So we're calling it sacred honor. Sacred honor. The Christian man's strategy for sexual integrity in every way. That's what we want. Okay. Hope you will take all the lessons, take all the classes. Hope you'll get this. It will be big and helpful for you and your life to have it. God bless you and thanks.